No matter how many space launches you have seen, you've never seen one like this because the Space Launch System is a vessel unto itself. This is a beast. Taller than the Statue of Liberty from the base to the tip of the torch, well over 300 feet. It weighs around 6 million pounds, but that's okay because it can produce about 8 million pounds of thrust, starting with those two big solid fuel boosters on the side there. They will both burn straight through at the beginning, giving it that extra boost as it gets off the ground, and then they will fall away. They could almost get the job done entirely by themselves, but they will have the help of that big orange core in the middle. It's orange because that is insulation to keep what's inside very, very cold. Liquid hydrogen and liquid oxygen, both of which will be flowing down to these 4 RS-25 engines down below, all together sending this well up into space with a tremendous amount of power. So where are the astronauts in all of this? They're up here. That's where you'll find the Orion crew module. Just below it, the service module that will supply water and oxygen and all sorts of things to the crew up above. And below that, another big booster, which will send that part into a giant elliptical orbit around the Earth before sending it on its way. One more thing, you'll see that upside down ice cream cone up there? That is a escape module, in a sense, a way for the crew to get out. Even when this rocket is going thousands of miles an hour, it could bring them safely back down to Earth. Of course, everybody hopes that this doesn't get used, that everything falls off as it should properly, and the Orion crew is on its way on this historic return to the moon.
Is your team tracking anything right now that could stand in the way of liftoff tomorrow?
Well, I'll tell you, it's an extremely complicated rocket that we have out on the field, so we are monitoring it constantly. But if you ask me at this moment, the rocket is healthy, the spacecraft on top of it is healthy, the crew is here and ready to go, and the weather's looking good.
That is exciting to hear. Artemis II is obviously a precursor to Artemis III, which involves launching a crewed NASA space capsule to Earth's orbit and then docking with a prototype lunar lander vehicle. What do you need to see from Artemis II to move forward with Artemis III in 2027?
Yeah, so look, that's a really good question. So we are getting back to some of the basics here at NASA and leveraging the playbook that we used on July 20th, 1969, where we put Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin on the surface of the moon, meaning we build up to these extraordinary world-changing outcomes in a very logical, iterative way. So right out on the pad, you have Artemis II, as you said. We're going to send that vehicle potentially farther into space than humans have ever gone before, potentially faster than humans ever went before. And over those 10 days, we are going to use that to test out the Orion spacecraft, get very comfortable with its operations, including manually piloting the vehicle, which will set up for Artemis III, which will launch in 2027. And as you mentioned, Orion and our landers will dock in Earth orbit. That's going to be very Apollo 9-esque. We're going to get very comfortable with the integrated operations of the lander and the Orion spacecraft, which sets up for 2028, where those landers will eventually take astronauts down to the surface of the moon.
On the question of timelines, China is aiming to land astronauts on the moon by 2030. Is the United States going to get there first? What does it mean if we don't?
Well, I certainly think that NASA, even though we are all about the peaceful exploration in space for science and discovery, has a national security mission. You go back to, again, July 20th, 1969, American astronauts landed on the moon, brought them safely home to Earth. We did what many thought was impossible. It sends a message to the world of what else is America potentially capable of. Now, you come up short on the grand return to the moon, and it says something might not be working right. And that might embolden others to challenge us across all of the different emerging technological domains. So this is a responsibility we take seriously. This is why industry is responding well to changes, which is we're not going to go right from Artemis II around the moon to landing on Artemis III. We're going to get back to basics. We're going to add missions. We're going to increase production rate, pull timelines to the left, and start doing it like we did in the 1960s again. So I'd say the workforce has responded extremely well. Industry has responded well. International partners have responded well. So we now have an achievable path to getting back to the moon before the end of President Trump's term, which should give us some margin before when we think our great rival will get there. But again, we are measuring success and failure in months here, not years.
You've obviously taken on a risky mission yourself. You were commander of Polaris Dawn. What is it like in the final moments for these 4 astronauts as they're about to leave Earth and their family and everything behind to go where few have ever been?
Well, I'll tell you, there is no comparison at all. I mean, I felt very fortunate to be on the Polaris Dawn mission, but what the Artemis II astronauts are taking on right now is a different ballgame altogether. I mean, 1.8 million pounds of thrust versus 8.8 million pounds of thrust. When you're in Earth orbit, you're hours away from being in the water. When you commit to the translunar injection, when we send that spacecraft out deep into space and around the moon, you are days away from coming home if something goes wrong. These astronauts understand that. They spent years preparing for it, and they're doing it because they know what's coming next. This is not a one-and-done mission. Artemis is a program that will eventually see astronauts undertaking frequent missions to the lunar surface so we can stay, so we can build the lunar base, realize the scientific and economic potential there, use it as a technological proving ground for what comes thereafter, which is someday sending American astronauts to Mars.
Administrator, you also recently announced an ambitious set of goals for NASA, including a new Mars mission powered by nuclear propulsion. There are a lot of questions, though, about the price tag on that and how you're going to fund it, how much you're going to rely on private enterprise. I wonder what your message is to folks who see these plans and who think there are a lot of issues here on Earth in our country that require funding and attention. Why are we devoting so much to this mission when there are problems here on Earth that that money can help address? What would you say to them?
You know, it's a common question. It's come up quite frequently throughout my entire space career is why are we doing all this stuff? Why do we have moon rockets? Why are we building a moon base? Why are we building a nuclear-powered spacecraft? We should just hit pause on all progress across the world and concentrate all of our resources on the problems and the hardships of the day. It doesn't work that way. I mean, throughout human history, we try and address the challenges of the moment to make life better for the people while investing in a better and brighter future for our children of tomorrow. NASA gets 0.25% of the discretionary budget. That's a small price to pay for all that we may learn in science and discovery and to inspire our children to want to grow up and take us even farther into space right now. People, you said, is there questions about the affordability of what we announced at Ignition? Everything we covered at Ignition, from the acceleration of the Artemis program, which is America's return to the moon, to building the moon base on the surface of the moon, to launching nuclear power and propulsion, is all covered under President Trump's One Big Beautiful Bill. It was a significant investment in human space exploration. You know, when we didn't have a competitor for a very long time, we were able to do lots of little things. That's different now. We have a geopolitical rival that's challenging us in the ultimate high ground of space. We are focusing back on the needle-moving objectives in line with President Trump's national space policy, which is return to the moon, which is covered in the One Big Beautiful Bill funding, build the moon base. We're pivoting from an orbital outpost above the moon and concentrating those resources on infrastructure on the moon. Our nuclear power and propulsion demonstration is making use of decades of investments of NASA at lots of nuclear programs that have never left the lab. We're taking that hardware. We're building the Nautilus. Nautilus was never designed to be a nuclear submarine. It was a diesel sub. It was a 70% solution, but it got America underway on nuclear power. We're about to get America underway on nuclear power and propulsion in space.
It's all very exciting. I wonder, lastly, Administrator, if you could share with us whether you've talked to the Artemis II astronauts recently and if you have a sense of how they're feeling ahead of the launch.
Oh, I speak to the Artemis II crew all the time. I've known them, long before I was ever in this role. Victor Glover, who's the pilot on Artemis II, he flew Crew Dragon Resilience on NASA's Crew 1 mission. I was the next one to fly that same spacecraft. So I'd say we've had a little bit of a bond there for some time. I text them all the time. What do you need? You need DoorDash? Can we get you some coffee and donuts over there? Do we need to go fly? Whatever you need, we're here for you. I can tell you they're feeling great. They're energized. They've been preparing for this moment for years. And I'll tell you, those announcements from last week, building the moon base, accelerating SLS production, getting back into a rhythm of launching moon rockets, that's what they want to hear. They want to know the risk they're taking to undertake this mission is part of something bigger.